Good day, everybody. I'm Connor McIver. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Honor Roll Show. And part of the Honor Roll, we have Julie Hittleman. She is somebody that I've grown to very much like over the last almost a year, I would guess, maybe a little bit more. We probably connected maybe 2 years ago talking about some things. And here she is. And I really wanted to have her on the show. I've been out of source with this for about 5 years now. I'm back in the saddle. And I really want Julie to answer some questions, talk to you guys, because what I like to talk to, who I like to talk to, are people that are very passionate about what they do. And you can't even use passionate enough with what Julie does. So, Julie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Connor. And I love it. I love chatting with you, and we always have such great conversations. So I'm really looking forward to this. And I have no clue what you're going to ask me, but I'm sure this is going to be a fun-filled time together.
That's the fun of it. Just to shelve something away, we will probably talk kind of closer to the end. I'll always want to ask the people that are on my show about their take on artificial intelligence, but we won't go there. I just want to know, tell the audience a little bit about you, what makes you tick, and why are you doing what you're doing now?
Oh, wow. Well, just a little bit of my inner wiring. For 25 years, I've been a nurse, I've really struggled with my own health most of my life. I was always the biggest friend, if you will. I used to refer to myself as the fat friend with the funny sense of humor. And really, what I was covering up was a lot of emotional dysregulation. I didn't know that till very recently. But 6 years ago, everything changed for me. A friend I had been watching was getting healthy and kept offering to me what she had, and I told her to kick rocks. I didn't need what she had. I had failed every diet under the sun. I didn't need to do it until a encounter with my own doctor. He told me if I didn't lose weight, I was going to die, and we were in the middle of a pandemic. I was taking care of patients, and my own health was hanging in the balance. So I gave her 30 days to help me switch things around. And what came from that wasn't just another diet. At first, it was to lose weight because I needed to. I needed to get healthy. I just didn't know how. And even being in healthcare for 25 years, I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, you
And
would think that that would be the first expert, the doctor, the nurses, because I mean, you've seen it.
yeah, but you know what they say, doctors shouldn't practice on themselves, neither should nurses. But we have book knowledge, we know how to take care of people in practical sense. But when it comes to nutrition, doctors and nurses are not given very much information on nutrition. So did I know how to do it? No, I knew how to diet because that's what I had been taught my entire life, and it resulted
What's
in
that
yo-yo.
mean? What does it mean, diet? What does that mean?
So when people think of about a diet, they restrict themselves. They choose stuff not to eat so that they can lose weight. And that's what I had done my entire life is I learned how to lose weight. I learned how to restrict diet and beat myself up. And that all changed 6 years ago when someone showed me a different way of doing it. It wasn't about what I couldn't do, it's what I could do. It's not what I couldn't have, it's what I chose to have. But more importantly, and I think where my passion comes from, yes, did I lose the weight 6 years ago? Yes, I released 120 pounds off my body, but the biggest weight was from between my ears. I had finally changed my mindset, my habits, and the way I did things. And I didn't think of it as a restriction because I was no longer chasing a number on a scale.
Mhm.
I was actually creating health, something I'd never done my entire life.
What's that feel like to how long did that take, I guess, a good first question. Then what does it feel like?
Well, it took me longer to lose the mindset than it did the weight. I
Oh,
released the 120 pounds in 11 months. And
so that's like a person
yeah, but then you got to
or a
wait
few
for,
kids. My
I
God.
think the thing too is I was always waiting for the other shoe to drop. When am I going to gain the weight back?
Oh, yeah, right.
You always have that what ifs. And
And that
what,
happens a lot, right?
oh
I
God,
mean,
yeah.
yeah, that happens a bunch in the world. In fact, I don't even think talk about that are telling you how to get fit. They don't talk about how to keep it going.
Right. And that's where this program for me as a client changed everything. 5 months into my program, I was down about 50 something pounds. And my coach introduced me to a book that I
Hmm.
work with my clients out of. And what it really was changing our mindset and habits, something no one had ever shown me how to do. And so I really leaned into the mental push-ups, if you will, and really getting my mindset to catch up with my body. And what I love about my journey in my health is that in the time it took me to lose weight, I started to actually change my mindset because my vision of who I was changing. It wasn't just trying to be the skinny girl in the room. It wasn't trying to fit into skinny jeans. In fact, it was trying to do something that scared the bejesus out of me, which was I was actually losing weight not for me for the first time. I did it for my kids
Oh,
because I could do for them what I couldn't do for myself. And having lost my mom at the age of 59, which is only 4 years older than I am right now, at the time I was 49 and thought, oh my God, my doctor just said I'm going to die. I know what it's like to grow up with, grow up in my 30s without a mother. And I didn't want to do that to my kids. I couldn't say yes to this diet for myself, but I could do something to stay here for my kids. And it was the first time in my adult life I was trying to create something rather than fix something.
it sounds like this. So this, whenever you hear people talk about losing weight, the experts, they say these are the five things that are going to help. Nobody's going deep. What is this? What does this deep look like? More than you have to eat this, don't eat this, don't eat this. So you're looking for triggers and clues as to why you were incapable of doing something, and then
Yeah.
you apply accordingly.
As I often tell my clients, I realized it wasn't what I was eating, it was what was eating me. What was I using the food to cover up and manage? It was a dysregulated nervous system. I
I
was
would be
eating
scared to
food.
dive into the things that are affecting me. Do you see that pushback as well? I mean,
Oh, all
that's
the
not an
time.
easy place. It'd be better for you to say, just eat eggs, Connor. Eat some eggs, and you got it. Just eat eggs, and you'll be fine.
And you can.
Don't deal with the trauma.
No,
Eggs.
no, no,
Just
but you can, right?
okay.
But what happens when you get bored with those eggs and you're like, okay, I can't eat another egg. If I look at
Well, that's
another
what I
egg,
call you, and I don't want to talk about it. And then you say, eat more eggs. I say, okay,
right?
got it,
No.
got it. Sorry. Yeah.
But no, that's really where it boiled down to, no pun intended,
Mhm.
but you could tell me what to eat, but why was it that I could stay on a diet until a party or a special event or
Right.
someone took me out to dinner and then I would cheat, right? And I tell my
But at that point, you deserved it, though, right?
no, no, no. I tell my clients all the time, and here's where my mindset changed. And here's where
Yeah.
I ask them, are you married? And they often, most of them are in relationships or are married. And I said, how many days a week do you cheat on your husband? And they're like, excuse me?
Oh, that's horrible. What you're so mean.
I am. But then I'm like, how often
Yeah.
is that okay? And they're like, never. Okay, but why not? I made a commitment to my husband. Well, you just made a commitment to yourself. So who are you really cheating? If you're cheating, you're taking away from yourself. And I used to say the same thing. I'm going to go have a cheat meal. That's like a
Yeah.
drug addict, right?
Yeah.
Saying, I've been so clean and sober for
I'm
90
gonna
days.
chip some
I'm
heroin.
right.
Just a
I'm going to go
little.
and shoot some heroin.
Yeah.
And for me, that's really what it boiled down to is that sugar was my addiction. And I didn't realize I thought I was a carboholic. I love sourdough bread. It
Yeah. Yeah.
breaks down into sugar and it
Yeah.
sends off the monster inside. But it took a lot of, like you said, finding triggers, finding those things. And I couldn't see it in myself. It took someone else to point it out to me and then walk through it with me. And for me to come to the realization that I wasn't broken and I didn't need someone to fix me, I just needed to understand myself better and why I did the things I did so I could change my habit loops.
But
The
this
thing-
wasn't in a book. You can't. I've
yes,
read a lot of books.
it
It
is.
doesn't seem to have that effect. I mean, I've read some pretty good books just about this subject because that's my battle. And I get irritated when people get into the whole sugar thing. It's carbs for me. Anything that I eat that it's hard for me to eat a dozen boiled eggs in a sitting. I can do it. I also like that distension where the stomach is pushing out so far, those sensors are popping. That's another problem of addiction that I have. But I can't believe a book. So it's more
Well,
than that, I would guess.
I mean, it is, but when you realize that they call the stomach the second brain for a reason. Think of
Yeah.
every religion that uses fasting as a means of getting closer to their maker. I'll put it
Right.
in that term. When you're fasting and your stomach is empty, you're more in touch with your emotion and the first brain.
Oh,
When you extend the stomach, right, and you are over full, really you're not thinking much of anything because
no.
you're
It,
not as in touch
it's
because
bliss.
now, right, because you're getting dopamine,
Yeah.
which is the feel good hormone, but what you're really craving is serotonin, which has a longer effect on the
Okay.
synapses of the brain. Now, this part of neuroscience I understand as a nurse. Dopamine doesn't last as long. It's what we're chasing. It's that next fix. So when you're upset or you're stressed out or you're tired, all of those things, your body is seeking comfort. And in comfort, dopamine is that feel good hormone. Food stimulates the dopamine in the form of sugar. We get that instant calm, and that's why people say, oh, I need, X, Y, and Z. I'll feel better. You do for a moment. And then when the dopamine dissipates, you're beating yourself up. And it's a constant back and forth battle.
So you're going back to get more dopamine, and you get the dopamine trigger from what you're eating, and usually it's not hard-boiled eggs.
Correct. So I might get upset at my spouse and I go eat a piece of chocolate. I feel better in the moment, but then I'm beating myself up for not only the argument, but also the chocolate.
And then it's naturally their fault. They
Right.
made
Of
you do
course.
that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
That's
in the book I'm referencing, one of the things is really looking at what actually is part of that habit loop and taking the opportunity to stop for a moment, take a deep breath. Instantly, when you're stressed out and you do that,
mhm.
you're tending to drop your shoulders, your chest isn't as tight, but the difference is a momentary pause, which is the difference between responding and reacting, and asking yourself some questions. Why am I doing it? What am I going to get from it? Is that what I want long term? If I eat that piece of chocolate, am I going to remember that a year from now? Or am I going to feel better when I've reached my goal and my goal doesn't actually pertain to that piece of chocolate? It's a momentary thing. And just like our emotions are the weather, you're
Mhm.
the sky. And the weather changes every 15 minutes or 15 seconds. Even think about the most joy you've ever felt in your life. How long did it really last when you think about the emotion lasting as you were excited about it?
Yeah, a few minutes maybe.
Right. The same is true of uncomfortable feelings. So if we let the weather pass, take a sip of water, challenge ourselves to choose something different, the more times you choose that something different becomes your new pattern, your new habit. And it's easier to create a new habit than it is to go back and break an old one.
So how many times is that very person dependent? How many times it's because I eat on autopilot. It's
Hmm.
like it's like minding my own business, just happy as a clam, no trauma, no argument, no irritation, just happy. I mean, I think I eat just because I'm happy. I've been able to put a lot of that to rest, but it used to be I would end up in a drive-through at Jack in the Box. I would order 14 tacos, easy lettuce, easy sauce. Like that helps. I would get two large Oreo cookie shakes. I'd get two large curly fries, and I would hide in the car in the parking lot, which I still see people doing that today because apparently we're all kind of the same. Because you can drive by McDonald's or these places and see it. I didn't have a moment to take a breath. I didn't have a moment to say, oh, come on. You know where this is going. You know what's going to happen. You
Yeah,
know
but
how pissed off you're
how,
going to be when you're done.
let me tell you this, I'm no different than you. But then I got to a point where I'm like, I don't want to feel that way, not during the moment when I was getting the pleasure, but then I remembered I don't want to feel that way after you throw away the wrapper and nobody saw.
Oh
But
yeah, you
then,
have to wash up a little bit, throw the trash at a trash
yeah,
can off site so your people don't see at the house. Yeah, I know.
right. And I always say we're only as sick as our secrets. And for me, it was the shame of having to um eat that way, but not wanting the judgment of people watching me because I was trying to douse the pain of grief, of a lot of other things in my life that I didn't know how to deal with. And the coaching I got, yeah, I lost physical weight because I changed my nutrition.
Hmm.
But where I got passionate is when someone walked by my side and didn't judge me, gave me tools I didn't have, and taught me a new way of dealing with it. Am I perfect at it? Absolutely not. Do I struggle? Still do to this day because those are patterns of behavior that have been there most of my life. They were coping mechanisms that I used to get through traumas, to get through, dysregulation of my nervous system. And I'm still doing that. And that's really why I coach, because there's sometimes I see in other people what I can't see in myself. And when I'm coaching someone else and those tools come into play, it dawns on me, wait a minute, I still have remnants of that left over. And I think it really seat belted me into my health by coaching other people because I'd been in that place before. I've been in those dark, recesses, like you said, of sitting in a fast food line going, okay, this is the last time I'm going to do that. I'm going to throw away the trash and no one's ever going to know.
Yeah,
I
that's the
know what
best
it feels
argument I
like,
have. This
right?
is it. Last time.
Yeah. I mean, but when you found what works, it's like nothing else to reach back and find someone else who's struggling and help them get to where you're at. And the only way I grow is having people that have been there before me that are helping me. And I think the model in which I coach in is brilliant because really I had tried experts. I had tried, I mean, there are things I've done. I quit smoking 8 times. It finally took on the eighth time, back in 2008 after trying everything under the sun. But the difference was on my eighth and final time, I made a commitment. And that commitment was different because every other time I wanted to give up the habit,
Hmm.
but I wasn't willing to do what it took to have the life of a non-smoker. I still put myself in the same positions and places and situations that smokers went to. I never saw myself as a non-smoker. When I did finally decide, and the actual word decide is to cut off all other choices. When
Hmm.
I made that final decision, I quit on my birthday in 2008 and never looked back. And
Wow.
now it's like I can't even imagine smoking because instead of just being an ex-smoker,
Hmm.
I became someone who was a non-smoker. And there's a very big difference in that because in
Explain
my
it.
mind, if I was a ex-smoker, that meant I was still a smoker. I just wasn't smoking. But as a non-smoker, I was not someone who smoked. In the same sense, I had dieted my whole life, but when I chose to get healthy, it shifted everything. And it didn't happen right away. It happened a little bit at a time until I no longer can actually get into the brain of who I was 6 years ago because I'm not her anymore because I've become healthy. And my greatest joy as a coach and what makes me so passionate, it's when you see that light bulb snap on someone else and they see the possibilities of what can happen for them. That lights me up like nothing else. It's the joy that I find in coaching when you find someone that is in that dark hole you once were in and
Hmm.
you can help lead them out and they see the light and then they start running towards it. And then you just have to keep up with them.
How long has it been? This has been a 6-year journey. Is
Mhm.
that when the doctor gave you that said,
Yeah,
and that was the doctor's words were enough, or you didn't? Because I mean, you're a nurse.
I know
You
this was a,
the
yeah,
signs and
That's what I went to him for. And the funny thing is, I think if I had seen any other doctor but this
uh-huh.
one, and
Right.
I'll explain why, it
Okay.
wouldn't have been the same. But having been a nurse, I worked with this man for 10 years in primary care at one of the hospitals I worked at, and he knew me really, really well.
Okay.
And in April of 2020, I was 265 pounds. I couldn't walk up a flight of stairs. They put a mask on me because this was the middle of the world shutting down on March 26th.
Hmm.
And I was one of those essential workers they told to show up. They put us in N95 masks. I could barely breathe. I had plantar fasciitis. My knees hurt. I had
Oh.
fatty liver. I had pre-diabetes, high blood pressure, high
Alcohol
cholesterol.
back then? Was there alcohol part of the your regimen?
No, well, occasionally. I would drink wine at the end of the night when I'd come home from work because I was so stressed out working as a nurse in the way I did during 2020. But in April of 2020, I booked my first telehealth visit when we first started doing telehealth because we weren't seeing people in person.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
I sat like this across a screen from him, not much different. And I said to him, I need some Lasix. I'm just retaining water. And he's like, I've known you 10 years and you're scaring me. You don't need Lasix. Not only do I not feel like I'm going to prescribe that for you, he goes, I'm actually sending you to cardiology. I think you're in congestive heart failure. And with your past history of being a smoker, being more than 100 pounds overweight, and your symptoms, I honestly think you're in congestive heart failure. He goes, Julie, go lose some weight. You're a hamburger shy of a heart attack. If you don't do something, you're going to die.
What a prick.
No, best man on the planet in my book. He was my primary
That's
care
so
physician.
awesome.
I know, but the thing
Yeah.
is, here's the sad part. It's because I had worked with the man for 10 years. He would have never talked to one of his other patients
Oh,
that
of
way. And
course
most
not.
doctors won't. They'll tell
And
you
they
to go
should,
home,
though. I think they should. People
right?
need to hear this. People are too, I mean, my God, 100 pounds, ex-smoker, all those medical issues, and it takes that for us. We got to have a doctor tell us. When before we could have chosen it. Now it's almost by force. But and that doesn't even work. I see people still. I did the 17-year smoking thing too. And what's interesting in the difference, I can't tell you why that 100th time or whatever the hell it was, why I quit. I can't tell you why all the diets I ever tried in the world, why I quit eating all that food and I dropped that 135 pounds. I can't tell you why. But I'm right there with you. The cigarettes don't care about. Alcohol I drank for probably 16, 17 years. I mean, half a bottle of vodka every night alone, just for me. I would guzzle it down just like you're drinking water just to get it. But I stopped that and I can't tell you why. I'm not sure why it worked, but you said something earlier about that little habit, the change, like more good time than bad time. I think that that's important. I think that carries forward, but you almost need somebody to tell you, and that doesn't even work.
No, but I think it's also, my clients, they come to me because they're in pain, and there's
And the
some
pain's too
pain point.
much.
Yeah, well, there's an old story about a dog laying on the front porch and the owner and his friend are sitting there and the dog just keeps, howling. He's like, "What's wrong with your dog?" He's like, "He's laying on a nail." And he goes, "Well, why didn't he get up?" He said, "It doesn't hurt enough."
Yeah, that's right.
Most of us are that howling dog. It just doesn't hurt enough till it does. And some of us are lucky and we get the chance to write that. And some of us don't
Because we croak.
because we
Yeah.
die. And there's been a number of people that I've reached out to in my life to help because I know that what I do works. And they've said no, and they've said no, and they've said no. And then they have a stroke or something. And by that time, when they come back to me and say, I should have listened to you, it kills me because
My
I
God.
know maybe I couldn't have prevented it altogether because the damage is pretty much done. But you know that you could have given them a running chance to be healthier, to go through it, or to come out of it better. And so there are people in my life that, I've had to watch go through that. There's people in my life I've lost because of their healthy choices or lack of. And I can't go out there, with this like Captain America shield going, I can save everyone. But I will tell you, in 6 years as a health coach, I've helped more diabetics than I did in 25 as a nurse. And I've specialized in different areas of diabetes over the
Mhm.
last 25 years, from wound care to working at UCLA in endocrinology. And I couldn't help people. I could, as I put it, mitigate disease. I could manage their symptoms with their doctor's care and carry out the doctor's orders, but I couldn't get people healthy
Why?
because that's not how our system's built. We manage symptoms, we manage sick, we don't prevent illness, and we don't create health.
So there's really no cure, or is that the wrong word to use as it applies to this?
I think that, the old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of
Pound of
cure.
cure. Yeah.
And the thing is doctors know how to write prescriptions. And listen, our medicine in terms of trauma,
Hmm.
if you're in a car accident, if you need emergent surgery, some of the best scientific breakthroughs in medicine, yes, are ability to help people is immense, but our focus isn't on prevention. Our focus is on treating once people get ill. And people think because they lack symptoms
Hmm.
or that they don't have an illness yet, they're healthy. And the lack of symptoms means that they have health, and they're not the same thing. Being healthy and being symptom free is not the equivalent. Being symptom free means that you haven't had it yet. All it takes is the slightly, the minutia of like just,
So
right
like
over.
one more hamburger, one more piece of chocolate, one more
Exactly.
cigarette away from lung cancer,
Well,
one more,
exactly.
yeah.
You're just one more thing away versus creating health to prevent disease, to create longevity. There's a difference between health span and lifespan. I may live to 90 because of my current situation, my genes, my lack of illness. But when you intentionally create health for longevity, that's a whole other ball game. People say, "Why are you doing this?" And at first it was to do for my kids what I couldn't do for myself. And then it became doing for me what I'd never done. And now people ask me, "What's your why driving you in your own health?" Because
Yeah, a great question. What is that?
I'm going to be the grandmother legends are made of. And my kids aren't married or have kids yet, but damn, those kids will talk about their grandmother being just a force to be reckoned with. I'm going to get down and play on the floor with my grandkids. More importantly, I'm going to be able to get up. I'm going to hike through the mountains with them, take them paddle boarding, heck, water skiing in my 70s. Why the hell not? Because I can. That's what I'm shooting for. I am going to be able to do with them what my mother couldn't because my mom died at 59 years old when I was 31. She knew her grandkids for 2 and 6 years. She didn't have the impact in their lives I'd hoped she would. I'm not going out that way if I have something to say about it. I mean, the good Lord may take me before then, but
Sure.
I'm not going down without a fight.
Explain to me, per your observation, what's the difference between somebody that, placates you, thank you, so kind. I just, I'm okay. I understand. Thank you very much, but no thanks. And somebody that says, yeah, please. And more than just the dog on the nail. What have you seen? Because it can't be just that simple where the pain gets too much.
Mm.
Because when the pain gets too much, people feed it. They say,
Right.
well, who gives a crap? I'm just gonna keep doing it, because and reflecting on that too, well, God has my days numbered anyway, so it's really not going to matter.
Well, I look at 98% of people have some underlying illness or the starts thereof that I can help. 9 out of 10 Americans have metabolic dysfunction. And when they
What
learn what it
explain
is,
that? Yeah, explain
yeah,
that.
when they learn what it is, they want help. That's things like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes. They're being put on cholesterol medications. For some women, it's PMOS, which just got a new name this year. It used to be PCOS, which was polycystic ovarian cysts,
Oh yeah.
and now it's been renamed to polyendocrine metabolic dysfunction or syndrome. And the
Why?
difference is, well, because PCOS, as we used to know it,
Hmm.
that is now PMOS, is finally being explained the way that they should have explained it to women. It's diabetes of your ovaries.
Oh, so now it has the metabolic in it.
Yes, because it's insulin resistance in the body, because a lot of the extra belly fat, a lot of the
Uh-huh.
symptoms they're experiencing are actually hormone disruption. And
Oh,
the visceral fat, which is fat we don't see, it's not that inch you can pinch, it's
uh,
that deep, deep, hard, thick fat that goes around our organs, causing our organs to have to function at a
the
higher
stuff that
level.
accumulates on the heart and the lungs, on the inside
Absolutely.
stuff. Oh,
And it starts to create disease long before we have our first symptom. And so people think, oh, I'm okay. I don't have a symptom
yeah.
until, but the visceral fat is a hormone disruptor. It interrupts insulin. And so people don't necessarily become pre-diabetic or diabetic yet, but they have the buildup and the accumulation until it becomes the disease process that now their doctor's handing them medication for, but they can prevent it before it gets there. And there's easy ways of telling. You can go out and buy a $25 metabolic scale on Amazon. Most of my
Okay.
clients get it. It's called a Renfo scale. It gives you 13 biometrics of your body, your muscle mass, your visceral fat, subcutaneous, your protein. I mean, it gives you a number of things, your metabolic age. And I tell people, go buy the scale because what they don't realize, they go, oh, I still have muscle. No, you have the appearance of muscle.
Mm.
But all of us are losing muscle as we age. And in that loss of muscle, you're losing strength. And it's more important to do resistance training, so that you can build lean muscle so that you have strength, not because you're going to go water ski at 73, but you definitely want to get out of a chair at 70 by yourself instead of
Yeah,
having
it's that
someone help you up.
it's that end of life fall because you can't get your balance standing up off the couch. You break a hip and then done.
And that's a huge piece of it. I tell people
Yeah.
build that muscle now because that is going to help prevent that hip from fracturing or because skeletal muscle has a direct correlation with bone density as we get older.
Oh.
And so, a lot of these things go hand in hand. And so it's metabolic dysfunction of our bodies that starts to actually erode at our health. So if you are preventing ahead of time because you have knowledge base and maybe you came to me for a diet, but what you get is metabolic health. And that's the difference between someone who coaches a diet,
Mhm.
because diet is a change in your food, but your diet is what you eat, what you hear, what you see, what you consume. And if you look at it like that, it's not
Oh,
just what
interesting.
you're eating.
All
It's
the
really our
senses.
daily habits feed into our diet, but it's more important that we change our nutrition. Huge difference between a diet because people ask me, well, what can you have? I can have whatever I want, but there are things I choose not to put in my body because they don't serve me. They don't serve my goals and they don't make me feel good. And I used to think by numbing out with food, I was feeling better.
Mhm.
What I realize now when I started getting healthy is when I put those same foods in, my body does not feel the same way. And it reminds me when I do have that French fry. Can I have it? I absolutely can. Do I like the stiff joints and the stomach ache I get after? I don't because it causes inflammation in my body. But I recognize that now.
So because you've been eating a particular way for a while, once you go outside your own guidelines that you've superimposed on yourself, once you go outside, you can feel. So what was wrong before? You couldn't feel it because you never knew what it was like to have a better metabolic approach to your own health?
Absolutely, because I had been living so unhealthy for so long that it was just, I was so used to it. Think about the things we do, even our bad habits, we
Hmm.
learn them. Good habits are the same way,
Yeah, right.
right? And so that's just how I did it. And we're human. We don't like change. No
No,
matter how bad we feel, we're back to that dog until it was so uncomfortable for me that I reached out for help. And instead of looking at me and saying, well, get off the nail, he pushed me harder on the nail,
good
which
for him.
got me to get up. And when I did, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Not when you have that choice put in front of you. And so, how I feel now, I have more energy than my four venti blonde coffees a day would give me and my 2 liters of Dr. Pepper, which is what I was drinking instead of water. And what I
Yeah,
found is when I started hydrating with water, how much better I felt. And it wasn't something that happened overnight. It was a little at a time, and that's what I needed. I made small, consistent changes over time. And pretty soon, instead of going back and breaking every bad habit I've ever had, I started creating new healthy habits. And one after the other, they became what I did until 6 years later, the person sitting in front of you would rather choose a protein wrapped hamburger and maybe some, sweet potato fries. And even then, I probably wouldn't get the fries. I'd probably get a side salad, but it makes me feel better. Can I have the fries, Coke, and a burger? Absolutely. Do I want to feel that way? Probably not, because it'll take a couple days for the inflammation to go down, and I feel like crap the next day, and my joints hurt, and I'm postmenopausal. I already feel like crap. It's like, how can I make myself feel less crappy? But that's a huge piece of the people that I also work with is women who are going through these hormonal changes in their body feels foreign to them. And I went through those changes
Hmm.
in the throes of my health journey. And those are another group of people that I help. And it's like we think our body is foreign to us and it doesn't respond the way it used to. And so that's another thing. It's educating people about their body, and it's really a way to teach them how to care for it long term, something most of us were never taught.
True. Even like basic finance, it doesn't seem to be a class on how to hold on to your savings and not spend too much. What's that number one thing that you think sets people? I mean, looking in on this from, after you explain it to me, God, just it feels overwhelming. It feels like, oh my God, I mean, one habit at a time. Thinking of how many habits I have, I can't even imagine trying to break and then trying to research and figuring out where this may stem from and trying to heal that, because most of the people that probably caused the damage, if it wasn't me, they're gone. There's nobody to follow up with at this point. Where's that?
Well, I think the beauty is you don't have to know it all, and you don't have to know it on day one. But what I'm going to show you is some simple habits that you won't have to think about after a while. If I said, here, eat 6 times a day, I'm going to show you what to eat, drink some water, get some sleep. That's all you have to do right now. Pretty simple.
Okay.
And then as you have capacity and clarity, and that becomes second nature to you, it's like, cool, let's add some more. Then you tell me, hey, Julie, I went out with some friends and this happened. Cool. Not shame on you or why'd you do it or you were bad, right? It's okay, let's walk through it. What happened? Well, what did you want to have happen?
Right.
What piece was missing? What do you think you could do next time that would help you be successful? Just those questions changed my life because I didn't have to condemn myself for a choice I made, but I got to look at it with someone else and walk through it and say, you know what? In hindsight, if I had done this, it probably would have gone a lot better.
Mhm.
Cool. Next time that happens, remember that and then put that into play. And if it doesn't, we'll come back to the drawing board and go, what happened? What did you want to have happen?
God, I got so many questions. If you could go back, you started your journey 6 years ago, 2026, so 2019, 2020. If you could go back 10 years from this point, if you could go, but what would that be? 2016, and talk to yourself as this person that has realized all this, what would you say?
I was recently asked that,
Hmm,
and it's funny because it makes me cry.
sorry.
No, it's because I thought I was so broken back then that I was beyond repair.
Hmm.
And if I could go back and say just one thing to my former self, I think it would be it's inside of you already. No one's coming to save you because you don't need saving. You're going to save yourself. And I know you know this, but for the last couple months, I've been creating a blog called Dear Her,
Hmm.
writing to the woman I used to be. And I always sign it with the thing that I was fearing the most back then
Yeah.
because I no longer do. And in a way of going back and talking to my past self to say, you're not her. Here's who you become. And if I think if me now went back to me in the past and I saw the future version of me now standing in front of me saying, I'm you. This
Right.
is who you become. Have faith in yourself. Everything you need is inside you already. You just need to discover it. But this is who you become. I think the encouragement of just seeing me today walk into my past self and say that, and knowing that it was me, I'd have a bulletproof belief that I could be, do, have, and become whatever without doubt. And that's because someone believed in me before I believed in myself. And that's what I get to give my clients. You don't believe in yourself?
Hmm.
I believe in you because I've been there. I've been you. I've struggled with that. And the same thing you just asked me. You may not believe in yourself right now, but believe in me. because I know it's possible. And there's so much more that's possible for me that I haven't even tapped into. But if current me could go back and inspire past me, if future me walked through the door, I'd follow her anywhere. Unbothered by what I'd have to go through because I
It's
have that
powerful.
unshakable belief that I can be, do, and have whatever I want.
Let me get out of this because I'm going to continue to cry. My estrogen's high because I take testosterone, so we're not going to go there. But so let's move into, and that is a phenomenal answer. And that one comes from your heart. Enablers. You're with somebody that apparently can eat everything, or they've seen you fail at this thing so many times, and every time you start trying to go down this road, you irritate the hell out of everybody. So how does that work? Why is this time any different? What does that conversation look like?
Well, I know for me, the people I irritated the hell out of, they didn't want to see me succeed because my success was proof that their excuses didn't hold water. So
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
yeah, so if I succeeded, they could no longer use it as an excuse. It's kind of if you've ever heard of the crab theory of life.
Pulling
When
them
crabs
down.
are in a crab trap, even when the food runs out, if a crab tries to make it out, the others will pull it back in.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
that's really what it is anything, not just your health, anything. When you accomplish things that other people um tell you are impossible,
Mhm.
that's their limiting belief talking, not yours. And it's them not having faith in themselves. But if you succeed, then they have no excuses left and they don't want you to succeed because then they have to actually turn the mirror on themselves and look inward. They don't like that. Most people
No.
do. They don't want to have retrospecting view of themselves because it hurts too much. It's bringing up their pain or their pain point they don't want to deal with or even address yet. And I think oftentimes the people that sabotage us, it's not that they don't love us. Um, my biggest saboteur lived in my house with me for 2 years while I was getting healthy. My husband watched me and did everything he could, but my resolve was, I'm going to do this with or without you. And after 2 years, the man finally joined me.
I've seen the
So,
pictures. It's remarkable.
and he lost 103 pounds on the
Yeah.
program. So
Yeah. I
it's
mean,
not that he didn't
there's
need to
no
lose
doubt.
weight. But
No.
I was like, either you're coming with me or you're going to watch me. But either way, I'm doing this. And I think when you get, and it's not easy. It's not an easy thing. And a lot of my clients, the same thing. They have spouses, children, friends, work, anybody. But you just get to that point, everybody was feeding us in 2020 as a healthcare worker because all the
Oh, sure.
it
Well, I
was
was a
free,
cop for a long time. There was always free food everywhere.
right? Hero
As a
meal,
real estate agent saying free food, everybody's bringing food. And
right?
it's not hard-boiled eggs.
No, it's never hard-boiled eggs. Of course not. And it's so funny because during 2020, there was a doctor at work
Uh,
and she would buy me veggie pizzas and say, well, there's vegetables on it. Or she would get me egg spring rolls and say, there's vegetables in it. And she was actually the one who set that thing in motion for me very early on. She goes, well, you can't have that. And I looked at her and I said, no, doctor, I can have whatever I want, but I choose not to. And I think that phrase
oh, the framing is
empowered me.
it's perfect. Yeah, that's
It was
powerful.
empowerment instead of disempowerment. It was I can have whatever I want, but it was my conscious choice.
Yeah.
And that statement alone empowered me to choose differently instead
Mhm.
of what I couldn't have. And I think that was like really the starting point of my mindset starting to shift.
Yes.
And the things that I chose not to, people are like, but we have potlucks at work. So did I, a lot of them. And I did something different. During my actual active weight loss phase, I still gave the $5 like everybody else for the potlucks or the ordering of food,
Hmm.
with one caveat. Instead of partaking in the food, I asked that I be the first person to sign the card for whatever occasion it was
Oh,
in lieu of the food, but I still paid my money.
sure.
And they honored that because I was sick of being the person who had to figure out where on the card to sign at the back by the scan code,
Yes,
There
yeah.
was
So
no more room by the time I got it.
it already made its rounds, yeah.
Right, but that
And
gave
people
me,
have no
yeah,
respect when they're signing a card either.
right. So, right, they make it really big.
Yeah.
So for me, I got to partake in the festivities. I got to be part of that person's celebration. I still felt a part of the office, festivities,
Mhm.
but I didn't have to partake in the food. But for me, I set the boundaries for myself in that. They honored those boundaries, and I still felt like I could participate the way I wanted to, and I could still show up for myself that way. It was just a shift in my mindset. And that's really what it is what do you want more than what you don't want? Because I always say when your why is bigger than your butt, then you'll get there.
Tell me your position. And you said, you could have it. You're choosing not to. The whole world is built around moderation and you can, you deserve it and it's okay in my even alcohol and so I go drink alcohol in moderation. I'm back. You will find me, I don't know where, but probably unconscious, passed out, because I'm still going to drink the same amount I did before. And I know myself. I can't do that. Same thing with pizza or cake. It's not a one Lay's potato chip world for me. It never will be. I can't do it. And I think part of me wants to stand up and be that, go ahead and tell me I can't have something. It's like I'm always operating from a point of revenge. I'm going to show you. Somebody telling me I shouldn't smoke anymore, or you can't quit. You've tried to quit, but you can't quit. That's all it took.
Right.
Okay, yeah, yeah, let me show you. I'll show you right now. Where does moderation and that stuff come in? Is it we shouldn't, we can't? How does it work?
I think that's a decision someone needs to make. I know what I do for myself. I know what my clients do for themselves. It's really a choice of what you want to do. I've had
Mm.
so many instances that remind me why I don't do things, and it wasn't because I always chose the thing I wanted most. I've had those moments. I'm still human. It's like free will. Thanks, God. You go,
But
well,
they
maybe
didn't
this time
become
will
a
be different.
binge, or they didn't become a 3-week bender on some
Right,
Vegas hotel room.
right, but just like you were saying, you don't go back there. So I literally last week went and had lunch with some girlfriends at a very healthy restaurant. I mean, we go
Okay.
there because I can have healthy options. And it wasn't that it was an unhealthy option, but even knowing what I know about myself, and this is going to sound really stupid, but I had some hummus and pita. And in eating the pita, it set off the little monster that sleeps in my head when sugar's involved.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And by the end of the night, I was craving chocolate. And I'm like, I didn't eat anything out of the norm except I had pita and that is a set off for me. Do I not ever eat bread? No, I eat bread. But when I do, I need to set up a lot of sturdy guardrails because
Hmm.
that I call my slip
A
could
lot of
easily
alarms, a
become a
lot of
slide
security. Yeah,
because it can set off a binge in sugar for
yeah.
me. But knowing that, I did what I do. I sat with the feeling of I want to binge sugar and I drank some more water and I distracted myself. I went to bed that night. I woke up the next morning. I wasn't craving sugar. Now, had I started pounding sugar, I probably would have gone on a 3-day sugar binge. I know this of myself. And it's not that I'm perfect, but I don't want to go down that road. So I do things differently and in moderation with the pita. But I know that that's going to, if I choose to have that, I better be prepared because later that night, I know what I'm going to go through.
Hmm.
Is it worth it to me? Do I have the resolve where I'm at right now to make that choice? But that's that if then becomes reasoning that all of us have, but do we ever use it?
No.
Right? And it's knowing what I told you, those same simple questions. What happened? What do I want to have happen? What was missing? And what can I do next? I guarantee you 25 times before, I may have failed 25 different ways until I figured out those questions led me to what can I do so that if I choose to have that, that I have set in place so that I hit the guardrail and I
Hmm.
don't go over the cliff. And so it's taken years and practice and failure to know what works for me. And I tell my clients they have to figure out what that is for them. I can't instill that in them, but I can give them the tools of those questions and say, ask yourself, because if it's important to you, you'll figure it out.
Hmm.
But how often do we have someone take us aside and say, let me help you figure it out? We don't. We bang our head against a wall until we're sick of banging our head against a wall, and then we just quit.
Well, everybody wants to think that this time's going to be different. This time I don't need anybody's help, just like all the other times. And you got slapped really nice and square by that doctor, and then you found the right person that understood you and was willing to spend that time with you. And I guess most importantly, you were ready to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I had to be in that place because I mean, I had done Weight Watchers, lifetime member, lost over 100 pounds, gained it all
Hmm.
back and then some. Nutrisystem, lost
Sure.
100 pounds, gained it all back and then some. Jenny Craig, lost the weight, got a GI blockage, lost Jenny's number. I tried, Slim Fast. I did Atkins. I did the cabbage soup diet. You name a diet,
Sure.
and I guarantee you I've been on it, done it, or tried things that most people won't talk about. And
Hmm.
honestly, I was considering gastric bypass
Yeah.
when my coach said, give me 30 days. And the thing is I watch people go through a surgery that reconfigures their GI system. And I was one
Hmm.
of those people considering it. And isn't it funny they make you lose weight before you can actually have the surgery? It makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it actually is. That's
And
perfect. Yeah.
so that's kind of where I was at. So I was exhausted with all the choices and all the failures. And I didn't want to try one more thing, not because I didn't think it was going to work, but I was afraid of failing one more time and in front of other people because I didn't want to proclaim to the world I was doing this and then fail publicly. And honestly, the first picture I shared of my health journey on Facebook
Uh-huh.
was because I was so excited that in 60 days, what I had achieved, because I was no longer her. And someone said, how brave of you to throw that out there. And it wasn't brave. It's that I was succeeding and I hadn't had a win
And you're
in
not
so
her
long.
anymore.
No,
It's
I
it's
wasn't
when you
her.
put up that before picture, people are still themselves. But when you beat this demon, that's no longer you. It's easy to show. Once you really get mentally in that mode,
Yeah, but I
that's
was only 60 days into it. And I was
yeah,
only
it's very
down
soon.
at the time, 60 days in, I had gone from 265 pounds to 229 pounds in 60 days.
That's
And my
still a
belly button
bunch.
had moved 2 inches north.
Ah,
I was excited.
yeah,
And, someone recently said, thank you so much for sharing that picture over and over again. And I often say, it has been the key that has unlocked so many silent prisons. Because if I could share the vulnerability of throwing that picture out there
that's
and
right.
someone could identify themselves with the vulnerability of where I was, that maybe there was hope for them too. And they reach out and I can help them.
How long did it take you to decide after you started this journey that has worked? How long did it take you to decide to become somebody that wanted to take a larger role and help other people? I know you've been doing it as a nurse, and I get that, but this is
Right.
this is a
I'll
lot
tell you
more.
the day it happened. It was August 31st of 2020.
Okay.
And I know this because one of my staff at the time, because I was so busy, wouldn't go to my coach. And I used to send everybody to my coach. I don't have time. I'm busy. We're in the middle of a pandemic. I don't have time to coach. I
Okay.
don't have time to breathe. I was actually looking to get a second job because how we were suffering financially at the time. But this one person would not go to my coach. And I signed up to coach her so she would do the program because I knew she needed it. And
Yes.
I knew she was in a worse place than I was with her health. And then she got COVID and never came on the program. And I actually was going to not coach because I was only signing up to coach her. And my coach said, go help some more people. And I will say that I helped a lot of people in the next couple of months. But I
Uh-huh.
think what really clicked for me was when 4 months into my own coaching part of the
Okay.
journey, um, around January, and I was helping a lot of people, it felt really good to lead someone else out of the darkness. And I say that you fall in love with coaching one client at a time. And thousands of clients later, I'm like, thank God that Jasmine wouldn't go to my coach. My life would look so different because I don't think I would have taken on the coaching if it hadn't been for her one decision, just like that one decision to get healthy for myself. Would I be sitting here 6 years later in the same way? I don't know. But I think be careful what you ask for because you will be shaped into the person who you need to become in order to achieve it. And what that took was coaching others, recognizing my own pain in other people, and growing along the way. And now I can't think of something else I would rather do because I can change the trajectory, not just of my clients' lives when they walk alongside me, but there's a little girl out there who may not even have been born yet.
Mhm.
His whole life is going to be different because I helped someone she cared about get healthy, and it'll be a struggle she never has.
Oh,
And that fires me up every day,
powerful.
every day.
Julie, you really this was not surprising, but just phenomenal. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today about things that are so sensitive, progress, and your why. It's so important.
Thanks, Connor.
Where can people find you? I'll include it in the notes, but how would somebody, they're going to watch this. They say, she sounds real. Also, she's done it and she's still doing it.
Yeah.
And that's huge for people because, I can see the buck 20, hot, wholesome female, trying to show, but they haven't had the issue. Going through it that's huge. And just you labeling the diets that you tried, that's valuable, hugely valuable. How do they find you?
Well, they can find me at hittlemanhealth.com, which is a great way to learn about not just me, my story, what I do, but some of my clients I've helped, and also who I work alongside and partner with. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram under Julie Stern Hittleman, which is pretty easy to do.
Okay.
Or just reach out and, I'm all over Google as far as I know.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
there's
I'll,
different ways to get a hold of me, but those are probably the best. Message me. My contact info is at hittlemanhealth.com.
okay.
And they can actually take a free metabolic scan and learn where their health is currently at if they're curious. And it'll give them some information about metabolic health. So if they're curious what that is, or they just want to learn more, I'm open to a conversation with them to educate people because education and knowledge is power.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Julie. It's really a pleasure.
Thanks, Connor.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's been Julie Hittleman. Just brought me to tears. I get it. And fantastic woman. Really, really helpful in this entire world when there's so many people that are overweight, that are battling with demons beyond their demons, just ways to put this to rest. She really is just a fantastic person, knows her craft, and is always learning, always leveling up. And we wish her well. We will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching the honorrollshow.com. I'm Connor with Honor, and I hope you have a fantastic week, and we will see you soon. Thanks for watching.